Welcome to Season 3 of You Are Your Name. In this season, we're asking a vocabulary name consultant various questions on balanced names. So my guest today is Marlo Shearing. She's another key staff member at the Vocabulary and Philosophy's head office. Thank you for joining us, Marlo.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So the question today is, how can a balanced name assist my children, particularly if their unbalanced names are causing challenges in their lives?
When we look at children, especially babies, it evokes such a warmth and a recognition that that child has their whole life ahead of them as a blank slate. And their children are inquisitive, eager to learn, their minds are developing. The principle of a balanced name is the relationship of mathematics to language. Man cannot think without language, and the name then is the link to the qualities of energy of mind that the mind draws from and expresses. But there's another aspect to that, and that is when a child takes its first breath, it becomes a living being. And that breath is measurable again through that mathematical principle as the month, day, and year of birth, which reduces to a single digit and describes what we call the birth path, which is their purpose in life. And that purpose or potential of man is far greater than that of animals who are living in an instinctive plane. That purpose is for the growth of man to bring reason into reality. And so that link then is to a big power of reason or intelligence. So the balance of the name creates both where you draw your thoughts from and how those thoughts express. But it also creates this balanced opportunity for that potential expression of reason. When a child is given an unbalanced name, there are tensions, and those tensions can be described as emotional qualities of disturbance, not being able to play alone, not sharing, ill health, qualities that reflect an unbalanced nature and a tension. And we don't like to see children suffer or have less than that big opportunity that they were born to discover. And so that child then is born into emotion. And at first, the development is strictly through feeling. So they feel wet, they feel hungry, they feel cold, they need to be snuggled, and the mother senses that reassurance that's gained. And that child then develops their mind through intellect. They ask questions, learn to share, go to school, socialize, and all those things, then they're developing that quality of thinking. So that mind, to develop, needs to grow beyond that emotional feeling. That mind needs to grow and develop to see life from a perspective of reason. When we give a child a balanced name, we're giving them the opportunity for that freedom of expression, that freedom of being able to see life from a bigger perspective, that relaxation. It creates a happiness within that child, a contentment, because they don't feel the restrictions. It sounds odd, and yet it's true that children become much happier. Then that happiness reflects in the health of the body and in the ability for that child to play on its own and discover things, use their mind, ask intelligent questions. When a child is given a balanced name, I had one parent come to me and say, now they feel their child is so intelligent. And yet it isn't intelligent until it can think for itself, which happens much later in life, the age of 9 and forward as they become adult. So that mind still needs the guidance, the direction, the protection of the adult mind, but that mind becomes a freer channel. It becomes more able to see life from a perspective of right and wrong. And that reflection of truth comes because there is a link to that channel of reason that is taken with the first breath of life. So that balance name is so important to that child. But as a child is given a balance name, they will just accept it. And so then a better opportunity is for them to receive a balanced name, and then the understanding of why that name was given, why that name was chosen, what that name has created in their life, so that they can see the comparison. And as children, we all know the people at school that we went to school with, and there would be the 584, and his parents gave him the mandate that he needed to create straight A's. And every day after school, he'd hop on his bike and ride home to study and learn. Whereas someone in your class, Dawn or Judy, and they can just sit in class and absorb the truth and do quite well without that study and without that quality of perseverance and applying themselves to that quality of learning. So the balance name creates a bigger opportunity. And wouldn't everyone want that for their child or for the children of the world?
So if they were named with an unbalanced name and develop problems, by balancing their name, those problems will start to essentially disappear, would you say?
Yes, that creating of that opportunity for channeling reason, that child then can become reflective of that quality, and that creates the harmony and the balance. That balance then reflects in a happier disposition, not the anxiousness of that child that constantly needs attention. And so what we would term tensions then will fade out of their life. And very often you give a child a balanced name and their health immediately improves because there is that freedom of natural expression of the inner nature. And so it improves health, disposition. They're able to learn better because there's greater focus and greater reflection of the truth. When teenagers have had a balanced name for a few years, they can see where moral codes are being broken in society and maintain that individuality. So again, it's just that broader perspective, that perspective above self and feeling, and that ability to then reach out with their mind and see life from a bigger perspective.
So the balanced name is crucial to resolve those issues. I assume that the parent themselves needs a balanced name so that because the child is so dependent upon the mental environment of the parents, especially when they're very young.
It's interesting, you see that quality of disturbance in little babies, and it reflects that they require that balanced quality of the parents. It requires that protection of that parents' minds. New mothers have an instinct of when to pass their babies on to someone else, or they have a resistance of giving their child to someone. And that's a reflection of their understanding of that bond and that need, that quality of mental protection. And again, that's relative to the child's mind not having the development to be able to think individually at that point. And that child then develops with the balanced name. And yes, if the parents understand and know the principle, have a balanced name themselves, it gives them that greater perspective and ability of protection of and awareness of that child's needs. It's interesting, parenting isn't about my child. It's about the best opportunity for that child and giving them that opportunity of that ability to become that free thinking, expressive mind that then can discover the truths of life and go on to great things.
Now, you were raised with a balanced name. Your parents were active Keblerians most of their adult life. How did they introduce the principle itself to you? You had a balanced name, which is wonderful, but they had to introduce that concept to you at one point or another.
On the Keblerian website, there is the Young Philosophers' Keblerian Creeds, and they start with, I believe in God the principle, taking away that quality of belief in a personality. I believe in the power of the word. I believe in a balanced name, and so on. In our family home, as well as being brought up on a vegetarian diet, the no swearing and the recognition of the expressions of truth in your expression, the quality of principles of life that are broad and big. And so the deep breathing and so many things were introduced to us as youngsters so that we could use those tools as we grew up. Individually in the family, each child had to make their own decisions and seek to find that quality of truth as being their truth. And so you had to determine that you not only understand it, but as that creed says, I believe it. And you believe it by practicing it and coming to know it within your own thinking.
Right. That's such a critical thing. But to test it, you really have to understand the mathematical principles. So, did you take the life analysis training course at a younger age?
I was 12 and my parents sent me with a neighbor. She'd come into her later years. I would guess she might have been 40, and she was expecting a child. And so she had a purpose of going there to find out about a balanced name for a child. And I went with her because I got a ride back and forth to the class. And the class was very interesting. There were aspects I didn't understand, but on the way home, this lady and I would chat about what we'd learned and what we thought. And it was a really good experience for me at that age.
So, you really learned it quite early. Must have given you a new perspective on mind as you go through the teenage years, which are so challenging so often.
Yes. And that's when you look back at Clyde and you see like his challenge, that 584, whereas your name and what you were able to do without spending that time studying. And it makes you appreciate qualities of mind and what other individuals are up against.
That's one of the anecdotes, I think, in the life analysis training course. They're talking about people with balanced names. They might give the impression that they're not paying attention and the teacher tries to catch them out, but they're following everything and they're quite astute on answering those questions. And it
Yeah,
does give that mental ability that's quite strong. You'd say a balanced name would give a stronger mind?
a mind that is able to stand up for truth, which is an interesting quality. And I met a young woman about 17, and the children at, oh, I guess it's high school, they're not children, were going to accuse a teacher. And she said, well, that just isn't true. I won't be a part of it. And so that discernment of truth and being able to stand up gives them a quality of individuality. And that is what a mind needs to be able to stand firm on a principle or see truth and follow it. They need to have that discernment or that reflection of the balance of truth.
So, in a sense, they learn to think for themselves earlier because of that balanced name.
Yes, but at first, it's just a reflection of that quality of reason without really their respect or appreciation of it. And so then everyone has to develop that thinking quality through choices and through discipline and applying themselves to learning those principles.
So it goes back to that inner potential, that life force that needs a channel through mind to develop and express. We measure it through the birth path, but that's really the power of life flowing through them. And if they have an unbalanced name, then it flows through them in a discordant way. They would be more emotional, more reactionary. But with a balanced name, that power flows through with a more logic, more reason, more ability to see the truth. Would you
Yes,
agree with that?
yes, that is the truth. And so the balanced name gives them both a balanced combination, but it also creates that balanced channel for that expression of reason. And without that, you look at a name such as a 797, and there's so much inward and so much bombardment of that mind through feeling and outside thoughts that they can't control, that their mind isn't able to develop freely. It's in a process of defense and questioning, wonderment, and reaction. And so you see that as, well, gee, that's not fair, that little child should have had the same opportunity to develop that ability to think.
So, what is the ultimate objective of a balanced name? What is the goal? What does the philosophy teach about the fullest potential of a balanced name?
Mr. Parker taught and founded the principle so that each man could find their unique purpose in life. And so that quality of the birth path measured by the month, day, and year of birth is that potential for that particular individual. But the overall objective of man is to bring this quality of reason into reality. We look at mankind today and we're so involved in the finite and things and trying to make ends meet and trying to buy our next car, our next house, or look after the family and meet all their needs. Man has a much bigger purpose in life, and that is to become this expression of truth in life. And the saying that we are our brother's keeper, we are a mind that can bring into life truths that then can be recognized by others and assist mankind. And so each have an individual purpose in life, but our overall objective is to become this expression of this allness power, this God power, this intelligence, to become the steward of the earth.
I appreciate your broad perspective on that. It does give a bigger dimension to the reason for giving children balanced names so they can fulfill both their personal inner potential as well as their universal potential.
Thank you.
On our next episode, we're going to discuss the significance of a balanced business signature. So until next week, happy thoughts. Whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways we can help you. Number 1, the Balanced Name Recommendation Service. Join the thousands of others who have harmonized their names with their inner potential to improve their health, happiness, and success. Number 2, learn the principles of mental freedom. Participate in our online training program to gain the essential tools to create all the progressive changes you seek in your life. These proven truths will open up new perspectives and accelerate your attainment of health, happiness, and success. Number 3, let Kalex Solutions help you choose a balanced name for your business, because many business names are an impediment to one's overall business success.